All right, welcome back to the SSLFamilyDad channel. Today we're installing a new LED bath fan that is also a Bluetooth speaker. All right, so the bath fan that we are installing in this bathroom today is the Home Networks Bluetooth bath fan and speaker. So it's an LED light, it's a ring light, it has a nightlight feature, a couple different colors, has a regular light feature, which is just like the kind of white light color that you'll see for LED light. And then it has a regular bath fan, which is a pretty decent power. It's a mid to higher level as far as the actual fan power. Decently quiet. It's not extremely loud, but it's not the quietest out there by any means. But it also has a Bluetooth speaker built in, so you can sync up to it while you're in the bathroom, taking a shower, getting ready, whatever, and you can play podcasts or music or whatever it is that you want to listen to. So for this installation, this is a new installation, so there's no bath fan in here currently. The only advantage that we have is that there is already a wire that was run from an empty switch spot in the wall, so there is already a wire run up to the attic. If you are installing this without that advantage, then you will have to add that wire and add a switch somewhere in the bathroom for this device. So all the wiring information, electrical wiring information, is included with the fan itself, and we're going to go through kind of some of the high level of that. But if you really need to dig into it or you're unsure, then of course you want to have maybe an electrician or someone that's more familiar with that come and help you with the wiring portion of it. All right, so the first step in getting the fan installed is locating where we want to cut the hole in the ceiling. You're going to do that by locating the joists in the ceiling first. You can do that with some type of a stud finder, or in my case, I was able to visually locate where the screws were in the drywall. They didn't do a very good job, and so I could see right where those joists were. Locate the somewhere in between those two joists, and then you go ahead and just use the bath fan itself, hold it in place, and then you can trace around that box so that you can get your hole cut. So once you have everything marked out in the ceiling, you're ready to start cutting through the drywall. Now there are drywall saws, of course, that you can buy, hand saws. You could use a powered sawzall if you'd like to, but what I find most easy is just because I have a sawzall is I usually just grab a wood sawzall blade, wrap some tape around the bottom half of it, and then just use that as my drywall saw. That way I don't have to have a dedicated tool for that purpose. And so you'll go ahead and cut that square out, just making sure that you cut just on the outside of your line or just right on your line that you drew, so that you make sure that it's big enough to fit the box or housing of the fan through. And then once you have your hole all cut out, you're ready to get up into the attic and get the fan itself mounted. One thing I noticed it doesn't really say in the instructions is when you're cutting the hole for the fan, you do want to locate that hole closer to one joist rather than putting it right in the center. The way that the brackets are designed, it's easier if it's closer to one joist rather than center between them. So it would have been best to put it maybe 4 or 5 inches off of the edge of one of the ceiling joists. That way the brackets were worked out a little better. But in my case, I just added a few 2x4s in there and nailed those into the joists and made up the extra gap in space that I had. So either way, you can get it mounted no matter where you put it, but you may have to do some extra bracing if you don't do it closer to one joist. Once you have everything mounted in the ceiling nice and securely, you can go ahead and add the speaker and grill to the bottom part of it in the bathroom there. It's pretty easy to do with the little clips that come included with it. There's a few wires to connect, and then the spring-loaded clips just kind of clip into the housing, and then it will pull itself right up into the ceiling so that it's nice and tight to the drywall. Now we can move on and get the wiring done. So I chose to start with the switch down here below. Now it is one of the square style switches, so that was another thing that I did need to change. I had the different style switches and plugs in the outlet cover that I had, and so I went ahead and replaced the switch, the outlet, and added the new switch that came with the fan. Now this is a very specific switch that comes with this fan. You can't use a switch that you already have maybe in the wall or a standard switch. You do have to use the one that comes included with this. It has multi-functions on it, and I believe that it works either through the neutral wire on the power line, or it communicates wirelessly with the light itself to get your extra nightlight functions and different lighting modes, as well as the Bluetooth features for the speaker as well. Wiring went pretty well for this device, even though it is a little different. You do have to have a common or neutral wire that is connected to your load or your power side at the switch, and then also runs up and it connects to the fan itself. The fan connection has a hot wire that runs from your switch, as well as a neutral wire that runs from your switch, as well as a ground wire that also needs to be run from your switch. So you need to have those 3 wires coming down to that switch area. Those will get connected to the switch, as well as I just jumped power off of an outlet nearby and jumped the power over to the switch that way. So wiring diagram is pretty straightforward and kind of explains how to do that. But if you're uncomfortable with that, of course, you can have an electrician or maybe a knowledgeable friend come and get that installed, portion of it installed for you. Once I had the switch all hooked up down below, I went up back into the attic and went ahead and hooked up the wires and to the bath fan itself. Comes with some super easy connectors on the fan side that you just basically push the wires into. All you need to do is just strip those wires and just push them into the connectors that came attached to that fan. And afterwards, I took those little connectors and I just tucked them into the fan housing so that they weren't just laying in the insulation up in the attic. At this point, it is a good idea to test the fan. Turn your power back on, go ahead and get your switch. There's a little sync procedure that comes with it. It tells you what to do to get the switch synced up to the fan itself. Once you have that done, you want to test all the features, make sure the Bluetooth speaker works, make sure all your lights work and all that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, I did have one that was bad out of the box and did not function properly at that point, and so I actually had to run back to Home Depot and exchange it out. No hassle though, they did exchange it out for me, no big deal, and I got right back home and popped the new one in and everything was working just fine at that point. All right, so now we're ready to move on to the last step in getting the bath fan installed, which is the venting or air duct work. Now you want to use an insulated duct if you're going to be in the attic anywhere. I know there's a lot of other types of 4-inch ducting out there. That's the size that you'll use is 4-inch. I grabbed a 25-foot roll or box of the 4-inch insulated duct. That is going to make sure that you don't get any condensation on anything. We've got warm, humid air. It's going to be getting sucked out of the bathroom during showers and things like that. That's going to be going through a cold attic here in Michigan in the wintertime, and that will create a lot of condensation or other things inside the ductwork or on the outside, just depending on the weather in the attic. In the summertime, it could condensate on the outside and vice versa. So we want to make sure we keep that condensation out of there by using insulated ductwork, and that's the best way to go. And to secure that ductwork on the fan and on the exhaust, either soffit vent or roof vent, you can just use, they have big zip ties, or you can actually screw into it or use duct tape or a combination of any of those. I chose to go with a roof vent in my case because the pitch of the roof is very shallow, and so I have a very hard time getting into the soffits from the attic. And so I originally had planned on a soffit vent, but decided to go with a roof vent after looking into it a little further. Roof vents, they do have at Home Depot. I'll put links to all of this stuff, the fan, the ducting that I purchased, as well as the roof vent. I'll have links to all that stuff at Home Depot in the description, so you can check those things out, and actually you can order all this stuff right online with free shipping. I started by drilling a small hole through from the bottom. I just picked a spot right in between 2 roof joists and just drilled a hole right through out into the roof. And then I climbed on the roof to locate exactly where that was. I marked it just by scratching an area on some shingles, and then I went ahead and went up on the top with my actual vent and selected a space right near where my hole drilled through, so that the flashing edge, the top flashing edge of the roof vent would fit nicely underneath the a set of shingles, so that it would be sealed. The rain would run off of it that way. Then I went ahead and just used a Sawzall. Of course, if you have a 4 or 4 1/4 inch hole saw, that would work just fine also. I just used a Sawzall to hack a hole open in the roof there, a kind of square-ish, roundish hole that the round portion of that vent will fit through. Once you have the hole cut, you want to feed the insulated flex up through the roof, and you want to attach it to your roof vent on the outside before it gets mounted. Once you have that secured and attached with some tape or some zip ties or screws or a combination of both, you can then slide that right back in through the roof, and then using a bunch of roofing sealant, which I purchased as well, I sealed all around the flashing and slid that underneath the top layer of shingles there, so that the water will shed off that nicely. And then I also used some roofing nails to secure that down to the roof, and then went ahead with that roofing sealant and sealed all the tops of those nails as well as the entire edge of that flashing, so that it's secured to the roof well, and the flashing is sealed up on all edges, especially on that top edge. At this point, all that's left is to get back in the attic and attach the 4-inch flex to your bath fan itself. You can do that again with just some zip ties, some real short sheet metal screws, or duct tape, or a combination of both or all of those. And you just want to make sure that the insulation around that ductwork gets pushed right up to the roof, and you don't have any gaps in that where we can get condensation. You can use tape or screws or anything like that you need to do to get that insulation to hold in place and make sure that it doesn't fall down or slide down and expose that inner venting or tubing that could get condensation. And you just need to cover that bath fan back up with your insulation in your attic. Make sure you keep that sealed up real nice, and the installation is pretty much done. All we need to do now is just test it all out and see how well it works. So although this isn't the quietest fan on the market, we've been really happy with it. It's actually, it doesn't not seem loud at all. I mean, you can hear the fan running in the bathroom, but it's not disturbing or really loud in any way. It doesn't sound bad at all. There are quieter fans out there. I know some of the Panasonics that they sell that you can get 110 CFM or 150 CFMs, they're actually a lot quieter, but this one does just fine in my book as far as the level of noise. Of course, if you just crank up the music, you don't have to worry about it. The Bluetooth speaker works very well. It's actually really loud and kind of bassy for what it is. It's a fan in the a bath fan speaker, but it does sound really good. We play some music on it, and for anything like that, it's plenty loud enough to, even you can hear it over, some lower hair dryers and things like that, and of course the shower and all that stuff. You can hear the speaker very clearly. Even turned up at full volume, it still isn't distorted. It sounds really good. The LED light is fairly bright. It lights up our bathroom just fine, and we do really like that nightlight feature where we can have that nightlight on, all night when the kids are coming in and out or whatever. We don't have to leave lights on in the house and stuff. We can just use that nightlight, and of course, it all being LED, that stuff is really low power consumption and should last a long time. So overall, we're real happy with this little fan. Although I did have to do that return and exchange in the middle of this installation, which was a bit frustrating. We have had very good luck with the fan ever since. We've had no trouble syncing our Bluetooth devices to it. We've had no trouble with lights or fans or anything like that. The switch has all the functions on it. You can use those in any type of conjunction with each other. You can have just the light on, just the fan on, the light off, the fan on, the night light on. Any of those things you can use all independently. You can have the speaker on and not the light. And so it's really nice to have that full featured control of this device, which is pretty unique from any of the other bath fans that I've seen out there. Most of the other bath fans, you either have a heater function, you have a light function, you have a fan function, and they generally need separate switches for each one of those, or they'll come with a switch that has multiple switches on it. And so, as I said, all the links to everything that we use will be in the description. Any specialized tools that I used, as well as all the products that we used, I'll put a link to Home Depot. That's where everything was purchased. And so you guys can check those things out, and it is free shipping, $45 and over. So you can actually order all this stuff and just have it shipped. It'll be there in a couple days, and you'll be ready to go with your new bath fan installation project. Now, of course, if you already have a bath fan in your bathroom, this process is a whole lot easier. You may have to change the hole size a little bit in the ceiling, but everything else should be pretty easy. You have all the duct work done, and you have all the wiring pretty much done, and all you need to do is just pop it in and you're ready to go. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the little DIY bathroom fan Bluetooth speaker LED light installation today. Lots more utility things and DIY projects to come on the SSL Family Dad channel. So of course, subscribe if this is your first time here. Don't forget to hit thumbs up on today's video. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. Have a good one.